This is not a Michigan mailbag, technically, because we're not doing it structured. But you guys have questions, and as we get here to Thursday before the USC game, I realized we've plowed the ground pretty hard, as Jim Harbaugh would say. So I'm opening it up to you, the people. And we're doing an impromptu kind of live style Michigan mailbag, as I put out the question about 4 or 5 minutes ago saying, like, get your questions in right now. We're going to get them in live. So we're answering your pressing Michigan questions here on the not Michigan mailbag, even though it will have the graphics and all of that. Here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday. We're back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And call it a lack of not planning, because today was planned to be the mailbag. I just forgot to put out the tweet, so we're without it. And like I said, we plowed the ground pretty hard as far as expectations for USC. I don't feel like there's anything new that I could say on my own as we come to it. And I'm like looking at what the USC people are saying, and it's kind of like it's boilerplate for the most part. Nonetheless, that made it so I'm like, okay, let's answer some of your questions. And realizing as I sat down, oh, I didn't put that out. So we've got 7 so far. We're going to keep refreshing, and I will get to as many as I can. And the order of operations will continue to be those who are in the Leaders and Best, the Victor's Valiant, or the Blue Crew, in that order. So let's start out with my brother in metal, Michael Wolf at MWolf21. Can the Michigan fans pull off the stripe out? How much will the crowd be a factor on Saturday? I do think that the crowd has been pretty raucous for much of the opening of the season. Not as much last week, but it's Arkansas State, and it was really hot. It's going to be hot again on Saturday. As far as pulling out the stripe out, this is where I never really know what they're going to do, because I did not think that the maze out was ever going to work a couple years ago in Washington, and it was like perfect. The maze out was pretty good against Texas, but it could have been a lot better. Certainly, there were a lot of people that were like, I'm not doing that. I've seen a lot of people on social media, when they look at the stripe out, say, I'm not doing that. And it's like, come on, guys, just, don't hate, participate. I don't know why I'm so cliche right now, but I think that there's, I wouldn't be surprised if it got semi pulled off, but man, it better get somewhat pulled off, because otherwise it's just going to be an embarrassing smattering off the field. And, you don't want that to spill onto the field. Not that one matters with the other. As far as the crowd factor, I mean, it's going to be a factor as long as Michigan holds up its end of the bargain. Because when Michigan's looked good, the crowd's been really good. I would say through a lot of the Texas game, the crowd was impressive, even when things were kind of going south. But it's a big opponent. I think fans are eager to have something to cheer for. So I think that and I think fans are excited to see what this Alex Orji offense looks like. So I think it absolutely can and will be a factor. Let's go to, I think he was the first one to ask a question from the Victor's Valiant, the Rican Raider at Hamstand87. Once the temp check on Jaden Davis, any worry of him transferring with Brady Hart committed? And no, there's no worry of him transferring. Keep in mind that, like, this is like what schools like Michigan are supposed to be. Like, you get a big, like a high profile guy every year, right? Like, you look at like Alabama, like they get like a high profile guy every cycle. Ohio State, the high profile guy every cycle. But I think one of the ways that, I just tweeted back at, I don't know what fan base he's from, this guy who said, did the typical what changed? Well, it changed from when, Jim Harbaugh hired Connor Stallions. What else changed? As if it was all the same. One of the things that changed that I didn't really know is Michigan stopped having a fear of appeasing guys when it seemed like they were going to transfer. I remember it was 2020. I rode home from Indiana with, I drove. But Zach Shaw rode with me. And I remember we were talking about it, and he was the one who said, so this is why I say that, to give him credit. He was like, I think that Michigan spends way too much time trying to appease everybody in order out of fear of someone transferring. And that's what you saw with the running back room, right? Was like a fear of like, hey, don't go. We got carries for you too. And then like they just didn't ride the hot hand, which was Hassan Haskins. I mean, you even saw that in game one. Zach Charbonnet has like gets the ball, goes off for a 74-yard touchdown, and then didn't play again for like another hour, basically. Because they just had so many guys that they wanted to try to like feature. So I think that at least in the last 3 years, they've done a really good job of like making sure that you're there for the right reasons, number one, and two, like understanding like, you have to earn everything. It's not given to you just because you're a scholarship guy. I don't think Jaden Davis is going to be afraid of a guy that's 2 years down the road, past his class, right? Because Brady Hart is not even in the 2025 class. He's 2026. So he's got some time before he would even arrive. Carter Smith is the one ahead of him. And Carter Smith has been, that's a pretty good hit considering they were all in on Bryce Underwood. And that was starting to not work out and everything. And they get this 3-star guy who ends up rising to a 4-star, ends up being a lot better than people thought. So I think that's good. Jacob Heminger Jacob, do you think the offensive struggles in the first 3 weeks could be because they spent 3/4 clear quarters of camp and spring thinking Orji was going to be the guy in running his style? Then the last minute it flipped to Warren, went to a true pocket passer style, something I've kind of thought about. That absolutely, I think, is a possibility. And he continues. I want to add on here. He says, I get it was a completion, but 80% of the rumors had Orji or competition. That 80% of the rumors that Orji is the guy up until game week, and all of a sudden it wasn't the case. Seems like they took an outstanding practice completion percentage over a guy that is a playmaker. Was also rumored Orji didn't turn the ball over much. I do think that is absolutely probably a big part of it because they felt like they could run what they were going to run anyway. You know what I mean? So I do think that that probably played a pretty key part into the thinking and the strategy for Michigan and the way that it kind of went towards going with Warren over Orji, because it's like, hey, this guy's, he's throwing the ball downfield. The people are catching it. He's not really turning the ball over in practice. And, his completion percentage is high. And like, we can probably just run the old system. We'll find out, right? If like the offense looks sharp, it didn't necessarily look super sharp. It looked good when Orji came in and then it kind of stalled out. But we'll see just kind of how that goes. But I do think, I've kind of called attention to that is they clearly let everyone know Orji's probably that guy. He started the spring game. He was the first guy out there. He was the guy that came out in the press conference. I think we probably had Davis Warren as well, but like Orji was the one that like everyone knew it was supposed to be Orji's job to lose. EA Sports, when they get the rosters and who's probably starting for you guys, Orji's the guy. And I think that probably upset the just kind of the working order of things a little bit. All right, we're going to continue on. We got more of your questions coming up here in this very limited Michigan mailbag. Not a Michigan mailbag, but it is one. So we'll get to those here in just a moment. But before we do, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We've got a little something different for you now through September 22nd, which is Sunday. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 to get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season afternoon Sunday out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment, but before we do, hey, Locked On Wolverines fans, have you heard about Roy? No, I'm not talking about that hit new video game that came out with Rick and Morty, which would actually be a blast to play. It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, you, the people, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game for athletes, and Roy changes the NIL game for fans. Number one, you can support players directly. Roy allows fans to directly back their favorite college athletes. With Roy, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams while athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness. And one of the great parts is there's no risk contribution, which means that fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter the referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. So get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. All right, Not a Mailbag is back. We've got, we went through 3 questions. We've got 7 left at this moment. And Austin Henry, I'm just going to give you a shout out. Well, actually, I'll start with you, even though there's some others that I was going to get to first. He says, is it a concern that Jaden Davis is not even an option at quarterback? No, he's a true freshman, right? And from what I've heard, he's got a really slow release that they need to kind of work on. So it's you don't expect a true freshman quarterback unless he's otherworldly to start. I mean, JJ McCarthy had to battle to start in season 2, you know? So I don't think it's that big of a deal that he isn't starting. I know there were rumors that his camp wants him to redshirt. I think that's fine, right? Like, but I mean, if he was the best, I think Michigan would be like, yeah, you're going to play. Sorry, that's just how it's going to go. I mean, I would either go Alex Orji or Jaden Davis probably, because I think you go for the best option. If the best option doesn't work, you go for the youngest option and build for the future. So we'll see. You know, there's a lot of caveats that come with that. I talked a lot about that. Again, not on this show because this was our show started in September 2018. But the year before, everyone wanted Brandon Peters, and everyone that could tell you was like, Brandon's not ready for this. He's not ready for this. And he came in and it was like, okay, we might be wrong. He looks ready for this. Then he gets injured, and then it was kind of like, okay, he's not ready for this, right? Brandon Peters, maybe if he doesn't get concussed at Wisconsin, maybe that changes the calculus of what he was going to be able to do. But certainly his career didn't end up being what Michigan fans expected. That's the nature with recruiting. That's the nature even just with development. Sometimes those things can change in a hurry. All right. Let's go to, let's see. There was one that asked you. Okay. Yep. Here. Wait, nope. I can't read. Okay. Yeah, I found it. Todd at Toddy Brown Jr. asked 2 questions. Says, how do you feel about this game? I have a good feeling that Michigan will be able to run the ball game and will finally commit to it. He also says, seems rhetorical, but should Wink stop blitzing so much? Maybe we should run more stunts up front instead. I do feel like that is 100% what Wink should be doing. I understand he likes to blitz. I think that you need to establish a baseline first, because clearly the blitzing is not really working. And if it's not, and you sit there and you look and say, hey, Michigan, we're blitzing about 50% of these snaps. Other teams or other Michigan teams that had more success, it was more like 20 to 30%. And some games it would get up to 50%. But it seems like when Michigan blitzed a lot, I'd have to look. I don't even know where to look, but I'd have to look and see what the blitz rate was against Alabama. I'm sure that was really high. And that kind of worked more so because Michigan was not accustomed to blitzing a lot. I think it's just a better idea to, like you said, run stunts, run twists, and simulate blitzes. I think that would be 100% the better way to go. As far as how I feel about this game, it's kind of a big YOLO. I have no idea. I mean, it stands to reason that you could say, okay, USC is going to win this game based off of the eye test. Michigan has yet to put together one singular game in which it's looked good, which isn't ideal. But at the same time, if they do, as you said, and commit to the run, because it's all about not turning the ball over, number one, because that Texas game looks completely different if they don't have 3 turnovers, which I think that all 3 led to scores, if memory serves. Not all touchdowns, but still, it was like a 17-point swing. And considering that the game was lost by, 19 points? I mean, that makes a big difference. So I think that, granted, Texas probably could put it on a little thicker. They just chose not to. But nonetheless, it would have been a game. And I think that Michigan, by virtue of getting behind in that game and then turning the ball over, did themselves a great disservice. So I think the biggest key for Michigan is to start fast. And to start fast, I mean, you've got to run the football. because I think that's what they're best at. I think the offensive line stats on PFF bear that out. So I'm excited to see if they are able to do that. Defensively, they obviously also need to hold up their end of the bargain. Like, one of the things that, like, we kind of got accustomed to is other teams didn't start by scoring, which is, or not, I know we haven't necessarily seen them start by scoring in any of the last 3 weeks, but we've seen 2 of the last 3 teams just drive the field and attempt a field goal. And I think that when the defense suddenly feels like it's on its heels, it's not playing with confidence and within the scheme. And so I think that that's one of the things that they need to kind of address and change and focus and figure out, right? Get off the field on third downs. Don't let teams drive the field, and put them, that's kind of why Michigan has worked. It was because you kind of always knew, all right, it's going to be 7-0. Maybe it's 7-7, 7-3, and then it's like 14-3. And then the other team, they try to force the issue a little bit. And before you know it, it's 21-3. And then you're going into halftime and Michigan gets the ball back. And now it's, 24-3 or 28-3, something like that. Like, that's how that works. It's just like you force another team to start doing what it doesn't want to do. And granted, USC is more than happy to oblige when it comes to passing, but you want to try to force them to be like, we're not running at all. We're just passing. And then you can kind of tee off one way or the other. And I think if the pressure can get home, their offensive line did not grade out great. Get home, man. And that changes the game significantly. Let's go with Taco King at Taco King 42. What are your thoughts on the current state of Michigan recruiting? I think it's okay, right? Like, it hurts to lose Nate Marshall to Auburn. That was kind of a long time coming. And it's a little daunting that you've got some guys that are visiting elsewhere. Andrew Olesh, Ivan Taylor. I wouldn't put it as commit watch, like as others are saying, or flip watch, just because they're visiting. That's just kind of the state of college football. But you better find a way to lock that down, because those are 2 more of your premier guys in the class. You already lost your top guy, Nate Marshall. Your next top guy is Ivan Taylor. Can't have Alabama stealing those guys out away from you, especially Ivan Taylor. You already stole him away from Notre Dame. I think it bodes well that he was committed to Notre Dame and flipped over to Michigan. That's usually a certain type of guy. And we'll see about Andrew Babalola, who was supposed to have committed by now and hasn't. It kind of feels not great about Nate Owusu-Boateng, who is going to be visiting this weekend. So you need it back in your mind, in his mind, like this is the place to be, because he told me directly after visiting Michigan over the summer that it was easily the best visit he'd had, better than Notre Dame, better than anyone else. So you need to meet and exceed that. Would help to have a win, help for him to see linebackers that are playing with their hair on fire, and also just kind of whatever you do. But so there's still a couple targets left. I don't know how much else that there is. You've still got to try to get some other guys in that you've missed out on. You still need more edge rushers. You need more cornerbacks. You need more wide receivers. They've got some good guys at some of those positions already. I'm not saying Jaden Sanders or Andrew Marsh aren't phenomenal, but they do need more to continue to bolster those positions. I think that the wide receiver position is very thin right now. You need to get back to bringing in 4 per class, I think. And it helps that the 2 guys you got are 4 stars, but you need more. Hurts losing Phillip Wright. Felt like you were going to get another guy in maybe in Jerome Miles, who ended up committing to USC of all places yesterday. But you've got to find a way to build that class out a little bit more. All right, we've got more questions. We're going to get to the answers here momentarily. But before we do, there's lots of events that are coming up. We talk about them all the time. The Tigers are about to come back for a homestand. And considering how they've played, listen, I've been a Tigers fan. It goes back all the way to the last 4 days. And well, in fairness, it was more like 1985, but haven't paid much attention. Have been paying a lot of attention lately. Even watched a bit of the game last night, which it's been probably 5-6 years since I've watched the Tigers game. And you're going to want to get to the ballpark. You're going to want to go to some of these concerts coming up. Heck, Michigan games, plenty of things, Lions games. Best way to do that is with Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only the incredible deals and great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They've also got things like their super deal. It is absolutely amazing. And Gametime Picks, that has a curation that makes it easier to save on more sports, comedy, theater, all of that stuff. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, we're going to move on here in a moment. Before we do, you might notice that I have this awesome LED sign behind me. And for Shamari Stone, I got my license, but I haven't hung it up yet. It's right over there on the bookshelf. But let's talk about the LED because it's amazing. It's what it is. It's a team ticker. Team ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign for college sports fans. Team ticker is a 1.5 by 2 foot wall sign featuring the Block M logo that has a cool retro-looking LED display. The display is updated daily with fresh content such as countdown to the next game, schedules, standings, stats, news, and more. It's super fun, and it's a great way to stay connected with the Michigan Wolverines. Its combination of design and function gives you an entertaining, creative way to display your team pride while providing a unique connection to your favorite team. Whether it's football, men's and women's basketball, baseball, soccer, softball, Team Ticker has you covered. Never missing a game because the high-tech retro display provides a countdown to the next big game as well as daily updates. Right now, it's got I think a basketball countdown. Yeah, I think that's a basketball countdown. It doesn't have it has versus TBA because the schedule comes out in an hour and a half. But nonetheless, you can use the content control section in the mobile app, allowing you to control the sports that you see. And the remote control function allows you to jump directly to any section of the content. Team Ticker is the ultimate addition to your Michigan Wolverines sports collection. Once you hang it on your wall, it's going to be the talk of all your fellow Michigan fans. So if you're looking for that one eye-catching item to showcase your team pride or a gift for that special Wolverines fan, go to teamticker.com and pick up your Team Ticker today. Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign. Go to teamticker.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive $50 off of your Team Ticker purchase. All right, this has actually gone swimmingly with a lot less questions. How many more do we have? All right, we've only gotten one more since all of this. So let's rock through this. Let's see. Ryan Ford at Legacy Fordo, do we start to worry if this Wink D gets put in a blender again on Saturday? Yes, 100%. Because that was the thing is you knew that, against the decent offenses that the Mike McDonald and Jesse Minter defenses could at least hold their own. If they don't, then yes, it is time to worry because we've seen these players play a lot better. These exact players. So you got to figure out a way to get it done and not let other teams kind of take advantage of you. Kind of that same note, Coy Brown at Coy Brown 62. Will Wink dial back blitzes? You hope that there's a self-evaluation period, and it's one of those things. We haven't talked to Wink since before the season, since before fall camp, no less. So, we can't put it in his mind. But the problem is you start to kind of get this feeling like he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. But I don't know, man. It's because I think any Michigan fan could tell you, whether you're a diehard or a casual, like, hey, man, you just dial it back a little bit. Keep everything in front of you. But, I mean, it is partially the execution, too. It's not just the blitzing. It's not just like, okay, they're missing out because they're blitzing and that extra guy would have helped because a lot of times that extra guy is not vacating the spot that's being attacked. It's also the execution of the blitz. It's the execution of tackling. It's the execution of Jair Hill, Jay-Sean Barham. These are guys that just need to be better. And they just haven't been the last couple games. Game 1, great. Game 2, not good. Game 3, a little better. But not significantly. Jared Book at Book's World. We're constantly hearing about Orji, Warren, and JD. I don't know which one you're talking about, if it's Jaden Davis or Jaden Denegal. 2 Jaden Ds. What about Tuttle? I understand that he's been questionable with an undisclosed injury. Is it serious? The coaches haven't mentioned him, and to my knowledge, haven't spoken on his injury. it's just a nagging injury that's limited him. I don't know 100% what it is, but I do think it's like his shoulder or something. So it's kind of one of those like, hey, he can't do anything. So, I mean, he just can't be. I think Tuttle would have won the job, honestly. Was the reason why I was talking about Jack Tuttle a lot in the before fall camp. I think Tuttle was kind of going to win the job. I think that was their plan, even though I think Orji was plan A. And then I think that they kind of thought about it and was like, actually, all the way back in the spring, because when it was in spring ball that someone told me that, hey, this guy is sat behind just the number 9 and number 10 pick overall. Like, we're going to roll with that guy. I think that the plan was like, we can change things up and go with Orji. But I think that they ultimately would have preferred to kind of stay the course of what they had been doing the last several years. And I think Tuttle was going to give them an opportunity to do that. And when he didn't, they saw Davis Warren kind of giving them an opportunity to do that and said, you know what, let's roll with this. I think that's probably how it kind of went internally. So, yeah, that's that. All right. Let me do one more refresh to see if we have any more. We don't. So we're going to finish out with Road Game Sports. I think I've gotten everybody. At Road Game Sports, confidence has to be down after Texas in the fourth quarter of Arkansas State. If the linebackers have a big game on Saturday, I think that group alone guarantees victory for Michigan. They so far seem to be late on most of their assignments. I think Ernest Hausman played a lot better last week, but still not the greatest from Jayshon Barham. And I think that the problem is like he's acclimating to something, right? Ernest kind of gets a little mixed up because he wasn't in this scheme for quite so long. And they're facing higher profile offenses than what they had to face, once Mike McDonald came a couple of years ago. Right? Because, remember, Washington passed all over them. They just didn't get in the end zone. And I think that's been a big difference, too, as teams have gotten into the end zone more. So I think that as long as you don't look at the stats between the 20s and just hope that they find a way to kind of keep teams out of the end zone a little bit more. And that might come with less blitzing and keeping things in front of you. And I think I agree with you. Linebacker play is crucial. That's one of the things that I've mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Steve Lorenz told me a long time ago after the 2016 Ohio State game, he said, teams can't be truly elite national championship contenders unless they have elite linebacking play. The good news for Michigan is you have two guys who can be elite. You're looking at two players that absolutely can be everything you want them to be. They have the athleticism. They have the smarts. We've seen it in certain situations with both of them. It's just a matter of getting them both on the same page at the same time, all the time. Consistency. I think they can get there. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back with a preview tomorrow. The plan is with Trente Jones. We haven't hammered out a time yet, but the plan is with Trente. So stay tuned for that. It'll either be with him or we'll do a preview on our lonesome. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.